Welcome. This is 7th lecture on kinetic theory of gases. Today I am going to discuss about transport phenomena. We will see viscosity, which is also a transport phenomenon, in details. Other two transport phenomena, that is conduction and diffusion, we will see in the future lectures. For a minute, just keep your physics aside and think in terms of common language. What is transport and why it happens? We all know transport means taking something from one place to another place, right? And why it is happen? Because something is excess at one point in compared to the other point, right? Like cultivation of rice is more in West Bengal compared to the other states, then there is a transport of rice from the West Bengal to the other state. Keep this analogy in your mind, and exactly same analogy follow in physics. So far in the kinetic theory of gases lectures, I have considered the gas is in the equilibrium. That means all the parts of gas has same temperature, velocity and concentration. But what happens when the gas is not in the equilibrium state? Or what happens the equilibrium state of gas is disturbed? We will try to find out the answer of these questions. Due to disturbance of equilibrium state, the transport phenomena happens. Let's see how. Consider the case 1 where the equilibrium is disturbed by the flow velocity, which means there is two layer of gas having two different velocity. Okay, so one part of the gas layer moving with the different velocity compared to the adjacent part. In such scenario, what will happen? A transfer of momentum. Faster moving layer transfer the momentum to the slower moving layer, and this phenomena is called viscosity. Similarly, you can disturb the equilibrium by heating one part of the gas. In such scenario, there will be a temperature inequality amongst the parts of the gas, right? And therefore, there will be a transport of thermal energy, and this we call thermal conduction. Similarly, case 3 where we can disturb the equilibrium just by adding a small amount of gas to a gas system. Okay, in such situation there will be a difference in the concentration because we have added some amount of gas to one part. As a result, the concentration of that part is increased compared to the other parts, right? So there will be a concentration difference. Therefore, there will be a transfer of mass, and this we call diffusion. So we have seen three different transport phenomena. First one is transfer of momentum, where momentum is transferred from the faster moving velocity layer to the slower moving velocity layer. Second one, we have seen the transfer of heat, where heat is transferred from the high temperature region to the lower temperature region. And third one, transfer of mass, where the mass is transferred from the high concentration region to the lower concentration region. As all these three phenomena are transport of something, transport of momentum, transport of energy, transport of mass. Hence, this phenomena is called transport phenomena. We will see one by one in details. In this lecture, I will cover viscosity in details. Other two phenomena we will see in the future lectures. Let's consider any fluid, okay? It may be the gas or the liquid. If two layers of a fluid are in relative motion, in that case, an internal force of friction appears, which we call viscous force, and this force acts tangentially to the surface in contact. Okay? And what will happen? Due to this force, the slower moving layer try to speed up and faster moving layer try to get retarded. Okay? This phenomena we call viscosity. And why this will happen? Because there is a transfer of momentum. And how this momentum is transferred? We know the molecules are colliding with each other. So molecule from the faster moving layer will transfer the momentum to the slower moving layer, right? In such scenario, it will try to balance up the velocity of the whole system and try to establish the equilibrium by transferring the momentum. Let's consider a fluid is moving in 3D space and it has its surface area on xy plane and its height along z axis. So this is x axis. Now what we will do, we will consider two layers, and this is on the xy plane, AB and CD. Height of this layer AB from the x axis is z and the distance of separation between these two layers is dz. Now let's consider A is the area of contact. As I said, that surface area of this fluid on the xy plane. So let's consider the contact area, that is the surface area of AB layer or CD layer is A. In that case, the contact area will be A. Again, we will consider the velocity of the layers. Consider the AB layer is moving with velocity u and CD layer is moving with velocity u plus du. As these two layers have relative motion, then there will be a viscous force. Okay. Now we will call that viscous force as F. It is experimental finding that this viscous force is proportional to the area of contact. This is experimental fact. So we can simply write the viscous force is proportional to A. Again, it is also known that viscous force is proportional to velocity gradient. In this case, velocity gradient is du dz. Therefore, F is proportional to du dz. These two are the experimentally proven fact. Therefore, what we can write, F is equals to eta A du dz. Here, eta is constant of proportionality. We just combine these two and the final expression for the viscous force is given by eta A du dz. Now, what is the importance of this eta? If you look this expression carefully, then if you substitute du dz equals to 1, then eta will be viscous force upon area. That is viscous stress. So what we can say that eta measures the viscous stress per unit velocity gradient. F is viscous force. So force upon area is viscous stress. Therefore eta is the viscous stress per unit velocity gradient. Eta is very important parameter. It will tell you how the viscous your fluid is, right? Therefore, it is called coefficient of viscosity, or in simple language, viscosity of the fluid. Okay. Now I will try to find out the expression for eta, and we will see how by utilizing that expression we can find out the viscosity of any fluid. Let's consider a gas is moving in the 3D space XYZ. We will consider the three layers of the gas A, B and C such that layer A is sandwiched between layer B and C. And you just take a note that the surface area of this layer is on the XY plane and height is along the Z axis. Now we will consider the distance between two layers is lambda. Here lambda is mean free path. You may think why lambda? Because as I said earlier, this momentum transfer happens due to the molecule-molecule collision. So the molecule from the one layer travels to the other layer, and by the collision it will deposit or it will transfer the momentum from the one layer to the other layer. And we know mean free path is the average distance traveled between the two collisions. Therefore, a molecule need at least lambda distance so that it can collide with the other molecule. Therefore, we will keep the distance of separation between two layers lambda. Now, we will consider that velocity is increases along z-axis with a velocity gradient du naught upon dz. And we will consider the velocity of layer A is u naught. Now we know the gradient. Therefore, we can simply write the velocity of layer C as u naught minus lambda du naught dz, and velocity of layer B is u naught plus lambda du naught dz, right? Now our setup is complete. Let's try to find out the expression for viscosity. Now think about it. If n is the number of molecule per unit volume, then approximately n upon 3 molecule per unit volume moves along z direction. Why I am saying this? Because from the kinetic theory of gases, we know the gas consists of molecules and that are traveling in all possible directions. Here it is 3 directions. So average molecule traveling along z direction will be 1/3, right? Therefore n upon 3. Now there is a 2 direction in the z, positive z direction and negative z direction. So the number of molecule moving in the positive z direction will be given by n upon 6, and this is molecular density. Okay, n upon 6. Now there is a question for you. How many number of molecules per unit volume crossing the area dA of layer A in time t? I have discussed this question many times. How we can find it? Let's consider the area dA on the layer A. Okay, Now we know a molecule can travel a maximum distance of c bar into t in time t. Here c bar is the mean velocity, mean thermal velocity of the molecules. Okay. So any molecule which lies outside this cylindrical volume cannot cross this area because they cannot travel a distance more than c bar t. Okay. And all the molecule which lies inside this cylindrical volume they can easily cross because in time t they can travel c bar into t distance. So any molecule here it can easily cross, any molecule here will also cross, any molecule here can also cross, but any molecule lying outside this volume cannot cross this area. So from that logic, we can simply write the number of molecule per unit volume crossing this area in time t will be density times the volume of this cylinder. And we know density, which is moving along positive z direction, is 1 upon 6 into n, and the volume of the cylinder is c bar t into dA. Now the number of molecule per unit volume crossing the area dA per unit time is given by 1 upon 6 n c bar dA. We have to just divide the previous expression by t. Okay. Now this many molecules per unit volume crossing area dA per unit time. Now what will be the momentum transferred through area dA per unit time downward from higher velocity layer? We know how many molecules are crossing area dA per unit time, right? That is given by this relation. We know the momentum of one molecule, mass into velocity, and the velocity of higher velocity layer is u naught plus lambda du naught dz. Therefore, the total momentum transfer will be total number of molecule into mass into velocity. Similarly, we can calculate momentum transfer through area dA per unit time upward from the lower velocity layer. And this will be given by number of crossing molecule into mass into the velocity of lower velocity layer. Okay. Now, what will be the net positive momentum transfer through area dA per unit time? This we can calculate just by simply subtracting this from this. Okay. And if you solve it, it will turns out to be 1 upon 3 n c bar m lambda du naught dz dA. Okay. Now, what is momentum transfer per unit time? Momentum transfer per unit time is nothing but force, right? So, we can simply write this term as viscous force, okay? And this will be given by F 1 upon 3 n c bar m lambda du naught dz dA, okay? F is given by eta into area into velocity gradient. Just substitute it here. And you can cancel du naught dz, you can cancel dA. So the final expression for eta will be 1 upon 3 n c bar m lambda. M into n is given by rho because mass of single molecule multiplied by molecular density is nothing but density of the gas. Therefore, the final expression for eta is equals to 1/3 rho c bar lambda. Okay. Now, if you know the density of any gas, if you know the mean velocity of the molecules, and if you know the mean free path, then you can simply calculate the viscosity of a gas or viscosity of a fluid, right? Just take a note one thing. As the gas is not in the thermal equilibrium, this u is not the velocity which we are defining in the equilibrium sense. Here u naught is the mean superposition of all the thermal velocities, okay? Now we got the expression for eta. It is very important parameter. It will tell you how the viscous a fluid is. Okay. So it is a kind of characteristic of a fluid. You can simply think oil and water. Oil is more viscous compared to the water. Therefore, viscosity eta will be higher for the oil compared to the water. Now we will see the dependence of eta on the physical parameters like pressure and temperature. So for the pressure, we know eta is equals to 1/3 rho c bar lambda. We have just found this expression and lambda is given by 1 upon root 2 pi sigma square n. This expression we found in last lecture and this is Maxwell's expression for mean free path. Okay. If you don't know this expression, then please watch the 6th lecture on this kinetic theory of gases. Now just combine it and you will get eta is equals to mc bar upon 3 root 2 pi sigma square. Here m does not depend upon pressure, c bar does not depend upon pressure, sigma does not depend upon the pressure. Therefore, the right hand side is completely independent of the pressure. So what we can say? We can say eta is independent of pressure, and this is experimentally verified. Now look how easily kinetic theory tells you that the viscosity is independent of the pressure. So this is the major achievement from the kinetic theory of the gases. However, in the extremely low pressure, this is no longer valid. How we can understand it? If you look this first expression for eta is equals to 1/3 rho c bar lambda. We know rho is directly proportional to the pressure. Larger the pressure, larger will be the density of the gas. Similarly, we know lambda is inversely proportional of the pressure. Larger the pressure, lesser will be the mean free path. Okay. Now when you are working in extremely low pressure region, in that scenario, if you decrease pressure further more, then lambda will increase. But at some point, lambda become constant because maximum lambda you can achieve is the dimension of your container. At some point, lambda become constant, and if you decrease pressure further, rho will decrease but lambda becomes constant. As a result, eta will decrease with the decrease in pressure, but it is valid only in extremely low pressure region. Okay. And if you are not working in the extremely low pressure region, then you will find out that eta is independent of pressure. Next is dependence of eta on temperature. So we will again look at this expression. Eta is equals to mc bar upon 3 root 2 pi sigma square. Sigma square is independent of temperature as far as the condition we have chosen. And we know c bar is dependent upon temperature and c bar is proportional to root over T. From that logic, eta should be proportional to root over T. But experimentally, eta found to be very much more rapidly compared to root over T. And why so? Because in kinetic theory of gases, we have assumed that there is no force of attraction or repulsion between the molecule. But in real sense, there are some force of repulsion between two molecules. As a result, there is a change in effective cross-sectional area during the molecule-molecule collision. When you consider all these factors, you will find out that eta vary much more rapidly compared to root over T. And this was proved by the Sutherland formula. He considered all this scenario, and by considering that, he find out eta is proportional to root over T upon 1 plus B upon T. Here A and B are constant, and then if you look this formula, you can easily see that eta vary much more rapidly as compared to root over T. Okay. In next lecture, we will see other two transport phenomena. So hope all this explanation makes sense to you. See you in next lecture. Thank you.